It's Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate. Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Zillin in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and balling like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
Welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball. We are back from our, I don't know what you want to call it, winter break of sorts. We have not spoken since a couple days after the Rose Bowl win for Penn State. Nate's here in like spirit, kind of. Nelly's here.
No, I'm really here, but
yeah, you're here, but like, you know, in spirit. We can't see you. Yeah, I'm right. Okay. I don't know where Tyler is, but we're gonna get into a couple things. The first thing we have to go over, which I showed you guys beforehand before we started, so it's not really a drum roll or anything, but we have our bowl record from that bowl pool we entered. 24-19. The winner was 30-13. There was a three-way tie for first. It came down to total points in the national championship game, which decided the winner. Obviously, we finished 6 games behind that. Guys, which games stick out to you as we kind of effed up in a way? I think we got screwed on a couple, but we also had some bad misses in there.
Yeah. I mean, UCLA and South Carolina, those are just toss-ups, like just unlucky. Like, I remember I live bet UCLA, and then, like, next thing I know when I'm working, I turn around, and then I just see Pitt go down with, like, 10 seconds left and kick a field goal. I don't understand how that happened. But, I mean, I think Ole Miss, because, like, we were talking about that before, that was, like, the biggest one, I think. Like, I didn't know they got, like, killed by Texas Tech. 17 points. That's kind of hefty for them, I think. And then Michigan. I mean, I don't really care that they lost because, like, it's Michigan, but, like, they shouldn't have lost that game. They're the better team.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers, 2 pick sixes by McCarthy. Screwed that game for them. And they fumbled on the 1-yard line.
I would have been curious to see if we did this against the spread, how we did. I bet better, right? Because like Nelly said, a lot of these games are toss-ups, and they come down to a coin flip. Because even Georgia, right? Like they probably should have lost. Like we should have 2 fewer wins if Ohio State makes the field goal. So bowl season's tough to predict. It's almost tougher straight up than it is against the spread, actually, too. In a way.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking through the scores here. Texas lost to Washington 27-20. That game, was really a blowout, and Texas made a run at the end to make it a 1-score game. That was a tough miss. Washington is a really good team, actually, and they bring a lot back next year. So it's a little early to get into that, but I am interested to see what they look like going into next year. Jackson State, the guy dropped the wide open two-point conversion in the end zone. Or was it a touchdown or a 2-point conversion? I think it was a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, 2-point, I think. I just remember the Dion video.
Yeah.
Talking to him in the locker room.
Yeah, so he got a little unlucky there with that one. And then Maryland and Pitt and Notre Dame all made comebacks like within what feels like 10 minutes of each other. And we got all 3 of those games wrong. And that was a big blow for us. I think we were a little biased heading into those games in a way, and it screwed us. I don't know about that. What do you guys think about that Iowa-Kentucky game? Kentucky looked awful without Will Levis.
Well, you lose the number 1 pick in the draft in your bowl game, you're going to look bad. So, but like Iowa's like actually kind of halfway competent. I forget how many offensive points they scored, but it wasn't 0.
It was 21-0, I think was the score.
Yeah, but I think they had at least 1 defensive or special team score on there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like they got a lot of momentum right into 2023 now with Cade McNamara and a bowl win. So go Hawks, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Defense is solid. They've always been good defensively, but I don't think Cade McNamara is going to make a difference.
But Penn State's got a stretch of Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern in some order next year, so it's going to be tough. We'll talk about that more later. But if Iowa does have a competent offense, Drew Allar has to get going very quickly. So
Yeah. Last note on this before we talk about the national championship game or whatever you want to call what that game was. Tennessee 31, Clemson 14. Cade Klubnik looked like bad. Like 30 of 54, 320 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Did he have a rushing touchdown? Yeah, he had a rushing touchdown, but no passing touchdowns. I was surprised by how bad Clemson's offense looked against Tennessee, who was, not the best defense at times throughout the season, as we saw. And, they looked to move the ball better and be more in sync under Klubnik. I was a little surprised to see them struggle like that.
Clemson's done. They are done as a dynasty, and whatever playoff aspirations they have for the next several years are over. Dabo may be over, but Clemson's toast.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way.
I mean, they've always been so like. I guess they recruit when they recruit their defensive classes are so like heavy, like 4 stars and 5 stars, and like I feel like their offense is like catching up to them now because like I don't know like the last like wide receiver I've seen like Hayes like make a big post for like Clemson. Like I haven't seen them get like that many great offensive recruits in a while. So like I don't think they're gonna be good either. And with Florida State in the ACC right now, I think they might take it over.
Yeah, not ACC, Florida State, a strong candidate to win the ACC this upcoming year. Bring a lot back, brought in a ton of transfers. I think they have the number 1 transfer class.
Yeah.
So they're going to be an interesting team to when we get into, next July, but July and August, and we start talking about, who we're picking to win the conferences again. I think Florida State's going to come up quite often.
Yeah, we're going to pick Florida State a bunch. We're going to pick Washington probably in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And then they're both going to go like 6-6. Then we're going to pick Penn State, and hopefully
probably. I mean, I picked Baylor. I think they went like 5-6 and 7 or something like that.
I picked Baylor. I was embarrassed because I thought I picked Baylor.
I think Nate did also. I remember Nate picking Baylor.
I think we might have both picked them. Oh well,
I definitely picked Texas. I already know.
That was a bad miss.
But we did say I said Oklahoma was going to be they were overrated and Clemson was overrated. So I got the negativity working well because they both stink.
Mine were good
not
too.
What they were expected.
I had A&M and Notre Dame as my overrated teams. So I did pretty good there too.
Hammered it on A&M. We should revisit all that stuff because I picked Penn State as underrated at the time and Texas, and I think both of those are true. Just missed on all the conference champions and everything.
Yeah, I'll have to go back watch that episode in its entirety and see what we were picking. But all right, moving on. National championship game, worst game maybe I've ever seen. 65-7. It was, I think, was it 10-7 at one point? Like, cool. It was a game for about a minute. Georgia 589 total yards of offense. TCU 188 yards of offense. TCU had 36 rushing yards. This was the. I mean, I can't believe how lopsided this game was. It feels like TCU, I don't know if they ran out of gas or I don't know. It's hard to explain because Georgia did not look all that good at times against Ohio State. And then, I mean, they just came out and walloped TCU.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Like, TCU just kind of sucked. Like, that was a terrible game. But also, that kind of just showed, like, how high up Georgia is. Like they were so dominant, and like even after they got to like 42-7. Like I don't know why they didn't stop scoring, but like they just kept going after it. Like 65-7 is literally Madden, like on the rookie mode. It's like turnover after turnover, 4 and out after 4 and out every time their offense goes out. I mean it was just bad, and like I don't really know how to like compare that game to how they played versus Michigan. Like was Michigan overrated also, and like. Was that just a good game, or was it just a terrible game for Michigan and TCU just played their best game? And, like, is Ohio State as good as Georgia? Like, they were right there. Ohio State should have won the game.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing because Michigan killed Ohio State in Columbus, and then Ohio State turns around and, is a field goal away from beating Georgia. So it's hard to say was Michigan overrated when they lost to TCU. Like I don't know, it's kind of like a triangle there that doesn't really add up in any way.
I think the only thing that is clear is that Georgia deserved to win the championship, right? And they were the best team. Even if they did squeak by one against Ohio State, they were still dominant in every game except for Missouri, I guess, right? It was a close one all year, and Ohio State. But I don't know. Like, Michigan kind of had a couple of bad calls go against them. They had a couple of untimely turnovers. They should have beat TCU. The fumble after the long reception at the 1 yard line. Like, don't fumble the ball at the 1 yard line and you win the game. So, they probably were not overrated, but they made too many mistakes and bad moments.
Yeah, that's for sure. Last note on this game, because it was funny, and we're supposed to be talking about betting on here as much as we can, but I'm in the middle of watching this game. It's in the fourth quarter. I'm like, there's nothing left to bet on this game, and Georgia has the ball, and it's 58-7 or 59-7, sorry, and the over under the point total on DraftKings goes to 72.5, and I'm like, oh, that's only a touchdown and an extra point. Like, I think that could happen. It was plus 100 for that to happen. There's like 10 minutes left. I'm like, I think that's definitely going to happen. And I didn't bet on it though. Georgia scores 2 minutes later, and the dude misses the extra point, and it stays at 72. So yeah, Vegas always seems to know. I think
That's
amazing. It was just crazy. I was sitting there laughing, thinking about that. It was so weird when I saw that happen.
Yeah, I bet $5 on TCU at halftime. Because I was like, I was so bored, and I was like, come on, if they come back, I'm gonna make like $100. So I'm betting on TCU but that was a terrible bet.
Did you? Speaking of terrible, awful bets, did you see the dude that bet 1.4 mil on the Chargers halftime money line to win 11,000?
Yeah, that's rough.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's why you don't do those things. Yeah. It just isn't worth it. It really isn't. If I don't know if that is just bad. So kind of moving on past the 2022/2023 season. So to look at the 23 season overall or look into what the 23 season could be, and the transfer portal, obviously number one priority for pretty much every school at this point, trying to make their rosters better through what is pretty much amateur free agency, I guess is the best way to put it. So we have an updated look here at Penn State's depth chart. It is missing one Malik McClain, who wide receiver from Florida State that enrolled at Penn State yesterday on recording this on a Thursday night. So Wednesday morning, he officially became part of the Penn State football team. So that receiving group at the top of the screen there, this is from Our Lads, who updates pretty much every depth chart in the country accurately. Props to them for having the manpower and time and patience to do something like this. But I don't know what you guys think about here. To me, interesting things. Liam Clifford starting in the slot. Other than that, I don't have a huge problem over it. The one thing I will say is I think maybe Zakee Wheatley starts at safety. We'll see about that. But other than that, I don't have a huge problem with anything on here outside the receiver thing.
So when I look at this, I think, 2 weeks ago, one of the issues, the besides wide receiver, the other issue that I thought they were going to have was defensive tackle. But the two deep plus JVDB is pretty good, right? They got 5 guys they can rotate, I think, and should be pretty solid. So that is less of a hole now. Wide receiver, certainly less of a hole now with Cephas, Malik McClain, and then you got another Clifford coming back. So that looks fine. I don't know. Where's the hole? Middle linebacker maybe is still the only, just going into this past year too. But at least now between Kobe King and Tyler Eldson, you got 2 guys who have experience, right? So they're not going to be green, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, I mean, the O-line for me, this is like the first time in like a long time I think our O-line could be like really elite. I mean, last year it would have been if like injuries, of course, didn't happen. But like if injuries don't happen this year, for sure, we should have a very good O-line. Then also for safety, like you said, Zakee Wheatley, I think either him and like also, even though Winston's a sophomore, I've heard like really good things about him, and like he played pretty well. Like I don't think he might not start right away, but I could definitely see because he has a lot of potential. I could see him getting into the starting role if he plays better than others.
Yeah, there's a lot of healthy competition to be had in some spots, which is good. I know some people would prefer Drew Shelton start over Caden Wallace at right tackle. There's a harder transition from left tackle to right tackle than I think people think there is. Like it's just not plug and play with some guys. There is a difference to it. So if they think he's a left tackle, I don't know. He's going to stay behind Oliwol and back him up. But I get that's one position on offense people are a little, hesitant on. In the slot receiver, I think there's a scenario where Keandre Lambert-Smith is the slot receiver. And, I think that situation comes if McLean and Cephas, the time comes in August and both of those guys look good enough to start. So that is a possibility I think that could be out there.
Who played slot in the bowl game?
It's a great question.
Who do we have out there? Smith?
I think Tinsley did.
Okay.
Yeah, Tinsley. Yeah, Tinsley played. I don't know why I didn't think he played, but
he definitely. I know he played, but is that where he lined up though?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I think that's where they moved him.
A few times.
Yeah.
To me, Keandre Lambert-Smith feels like the closest thing we have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Saunders has a chance. We didn't see a lot of him this year, but we're talking about a former top 75 recruit. I think he's the highest rated receiver brought in since Justin Shorter. Obviously, that's not a company you want to necessarily be in, but it's been a while since Penn State had a receiver ranked that high. So, I still think there's a lot of upside for him. Amari Evans, really fast player. We'll see. Maybe he has to refine some things with route running and all that, but the speed is definitely there.
It's pretty amazing though to see which freshmen pan out, right, and who gets playing time first. Because, Caden Saunders was a higher rated recruit than Harrison, but Harrison played more, right? And it's very curious to see how they develop in camp and how maybe the recruiting services aren't always perfect. I mean, they're not perfect at all, but they get some things wrong. Yeah. What was Abdul Carter as he was the 25th or 30th best linebacker, right? Last year, something like that.
Yeah, he was ranked 300th in the composite. He was he was a borderline 4-star. He was a 90 or an 89 point something, in that range. So he
win the Buckus Award this year, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's just how it is, I guess. Last night when I looked at this, they actually had Storm Duck starting, and they changed it back to Johnny Dixon this morning when I took the screenshot. So that, I don't know, those guys may be interchangeable.
Those first four guys, though, between Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, Daquan Hardy, and Storm Duck is a pretty powerful, that's four really solid cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Cam Miller played a lot this year. I don't know if he's good or not, but he played a lot, right? So
he was a true freshman. So,
he always looked really small compared to the rest.
Yeah.
But outside linebacker, safety, cornerback, the edge rushing is going to be as good as it's been in a really, really long time. Just really fantastic. It's really coming. It's going to be good.
Yeah, they got Adisa Isaac back for another year. That's big. I mean, the rotation is very nice. That rotation on. Oh no, it does have a Min Vanover on. I was gonna say he played pretty well this year, honestly. The one thing I am kind of interested to see is that backup linebacker group right now is Tyrese Mills, Kobe King, who I think Kobe King honestly is gonna be the starter, and Dominic DeLuca. I'm interested how many of those 2023 recruiting class signees at linebacker kind of force the issue there. You got Rojas and Keys, two really athletic linebackers who, they need to add some weight. Rojas is on campus now, I believe. Keys is not. You have Tamir Robinson, who projects as a will, maybe eventually grows into a D end coming off the ACL injury, a bigger guy. So we'll see how he recovers. But I'm interested to see if any of those three guys maybe push that second group going into the spring.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rojas has probably the best chance. He looks like he looks off tape like freakishly athletic, and like I know I like saw his stats. He had like 20, but not even it might have been a way more than 20. I forget, but he played like running back and linebacker, and he just went off
Mm-hmm.
on both sides of the ball. So I mean, we definitely need like another solid linebacker in the 2 spot with the people that we got there. Like DeLuca's good. Like he played good for his role.
Right.
Like Mills, I don't even know if has he even played a snap yet. Like I don't think so.
No, he redshirted this year, I believe. So he
Oh yeah,
did
'cause it's
not.
his first year off of JUCO, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then King, I think will also start over Eldson at a
Yeah.
point. So, but overall, this roster should make the games versus Michigan and Ohio State go down to the last minute and not the last 8 minutes anymore.
Right.
Or in the case of Michigan, the last 28 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that too. Another thing to look at here right now, Tank Smith is listed as RB3. Obviously, they have Allen as the starter. I think that's a little more of like an alphabetical thing, the A before the S, because normally there would be an or between Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. But RB3, it's Tank Smith. Cam Wallace and London Montgomery, I don't think either are there yet. So I don't know if I think maybe Cam Wallace is kind of the guy you're looking at to be RB3 right now, because Kevon Lee entered the portal a couple days ago. I know like kind of seemed like he was, and it seemed like he wasn't because he was there for the Rose Bowl, but then like the walk-ons played over him in the Rose Bowl. Like it was weird. So then he finally entered the portal. So he's gone. So yeah, not a lot. Obviously, we love Allen and Singleton. I think everyone in this fan base does, but behind them, if knock on wood, something happens to one of those two, it's not exactly ideal considering Montgomery's coming off of an ACL injury and Wallace is a little bit of a smaller back who's more of like a speed guy.
and if you lose one of them, right, like it changes the whole dynamic of what you can do in the offense too, because they are so complementary to each other. So I mean, whatever God you pray to, pray for the health and Katron Allen and Nick Singleton this year.
Yeah. And then quickly, Drew Aller going to start. Everyone knows that. Bo Prabila went from quarterback 4, where he doesn't even have to dress for away games. I think they do dress him, but like he wouldn't have to if they didn't want to like one snap away from being the starter in the blink of an eye, which is pretty funny. So I'm honestly as concerned about getting him a ton of reps this offseason as I am Allard.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have the same situation that happened.
Oh no,
2 years ago with Taekwon coming in, and then our whole season goes to shit, and we were the number 2 team in the country. So I mean, I think for sure they know that can't happen and won't happen again. So hopefully they like actually have like a system in place. Well, maybe Taekwon was just terrible and it was on him. Like who knows? But yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, Drew, we still haven't seen like play a full game yet, so I think it'll be very good. But yeah, you need Drew. I mean, what's his name, Bo, to be ready.
They were trying to go after Sanders from Oklahoma State in the portal, but he just committed to Ole Miss too, right? So that's off the table. Getting a veteran out of the portal who's willing to be the backup if he doesn't win the job would be great, but it seems like there's a lot of misses there. So I think, like Alex said, getting Bo a lot of reps in the spring and summer is really important. But by all accounts, he's a gamer, right? He's going to be Trace McSorley 2.0 in some way, and he took. Where did he go to school?
Prabila?
Yeah,
he went to Central York.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And they played St. Joe's Prep in the championship game his senior year or whatever, and they got their asses kicked. But he took a subpar team to the championship game, so he's gonna be really good. And hopefully, you just don't have to find out until like 2025 how good he might be.
Yeah, that's the plan. I brought up Alan Bowman, the guy a couple years ago, the Texas Tech half starter who transferred to Michigan, ended up being quarterback 3 there for a couple of years. I think he just entered the portal this offseason, actually. can you find a guy like that? Can you find a guy from like a Western, a MAC school, a Western Michigan, something like that, who is a quarterback, not, exactly an NFL talent, but has played a lot and it would like to get into coaching after
Yeah.
college, that you're like, yo, you come to Penn State, a bigger school, like we can get you a GA job after, something like that, try to pitch that to them. That's something maybe in the spring they can try, but that's just a really tough pool.
And that's the other side of it too, I guess. If you're like, there's no sense of you don't need to be urgent and act rashly if you're going to go get a guy like that. So you can do it after the spring. There might be more even Power 5 guys who want to transfer out after the spring because they realize they're going to lose their starting job and they see a better opportunity at Penn State. So I think you're right. There will be options come summertime to expand the depth chart there a little bit, and maybe even in running back too. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Braylon Allen decides he hates Luke Fickell and goes to Penn State or something.
Yeah, that'll be the day.
Yeah.
RB3, Braylon Allen. Yeah. Last note I want to make on this depth chart. Davon Townley, defensive end, 6'6", 270-ish, entered the portal. Everyone thought he's from Minneapolis. Everyone thought maybe he'd go back home, go to the Minnesota Gophers. Exits the portal, comes back to Penn State, and Alan Trieu of 247 writes in the article about him coming back that part of him coming back is that he's going to move to the interior of the defensive line. And, a lot of people, including James Franklin, have made, the whole fuss about my DTs aren't big enough. Penn State has one DT, Caleb Artis, who isn't even listed on here, over 300 pounds currently on the roster. So if they get this 6'6" kid to add 30 pounds, which I'd be surprised if that happened by August.
Yeah.
And bring out a 6'6", 300-pound defensive tackle. I mean, that cures some of those issues, but I don't know, that too, the defensive tackle, the beef inside. We saw what happened with Michigan. And for comparison, Michigan had 5 defensive tackles listed over 300 pounds on their 22 roster. So there is a difference there.
Yeah. I mean, our DTs, overall, our defensive line is going to be very good. I think Isaac and Chop, of course, but they're DNs. They're going to go insane. I saw Chop at who's the best rated DN on PFF,
Yeah.
which is funny because fuck Maryland.
True.
Yeah, I think we'll be pretty solid, but
yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, there's a second portal window that opens in April, and I'm pretty sure that was the portal window Penn State got Chop Robinson in. It wasn't this one, I don't think. So, there are good players to be found in the spring. Some guys get passed up by younger guys, which obviously, we're talking about a Penn State team that wants to go to the national championship. So I don't know how much they want to add guys who are getting passed up, but guys get sour on their situation. The position coach leaves, like, Penn State's looking for a receiving coach right now. So, new guys will enter in April and some will be a surprise, obviously. Just kind of with the first transfer window of the calendar year closing, just really quick, guys that Penn State lost. Davon Townley entered, as I just mentioned, came back. So he's here. Rodney McGraw, not Gallagher. We'll see him week 1 with West Virginia. Rodney McGraw went to Louisville. Fatorma Mulba, we will also see week 1 with West Virginia. Christian Veilleux went to Pitt. All right.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Davis went to Stony Brook. I don't know. That must have been an eval miss, I guess. Yeah. I don't know there. And then a couple guys that just entered that have not found a home yet. Running back Kevon Lee, we just mentioned. Cornerback Marquise Wilson. Linebacker Jamari Button. That didn't surprise me once I heard Curtis Jacobs was coming back. And Jaden Dodden, receiver. That also did not surprise me because it happened about an hour after McLean was announced as an enrollee. So, I get it. And then what Penn State brought in, we talked about Storm Duck. We talked about Cephas. We talked about McLean. Also brought in Riley Thompson from FAU to play punter. Barney Moore's gone, 6th-year guy last year. They have, Alex Bacchetta, however you say his last name, one of the highest ranked punters in his recruiting class, but they're still bringing in Thompson. Take that for whatever it's worth. And then also losing kicker Jake Pinnaker, who decided to go to the NFL. You have Sander Sahaydak, also a very highly ranked specialist coming out of high school. They brought in kicker Alex Felkins, a walk-on from Columbia. So, to me, the two specialist jobs also kind of interesting to watch this spring.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely open. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know like how confident I am with that because like Pinnaker has shown like inconsistencies and they never even like really tried anybody else last year.
Does that mean how bad is everyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we have to,
Yeah.
we're getting a walk on from Columbia. I'm not saying he can't be great. Who knows? He
Right.
could be insane. But like to have to go out there and recruit special teams is definitely when we're supposed to be getting the number one guys in their class.
Mm-hmm.
Like on Cole's kicker, I remember seeing that one dude was like number one. Like
Right.
how reliable actually are they? But I mean, with people going out, we didn't really lose anybody that I think was like, oh, like we're screwed now.
Right.
Like everybody kind of left that like had to leave if they want to like get playing time before their like almost senior year. So I mean, most of those made sense. And then like who we brought in, or now our wide receivers are looking good. Storm Duck, I mean, that one I was so confused about. We just look at Twitter and see they committed. I mean, and now our corners are stacked again. So I mean, it's looking good. I mean, people were complaining about the portal, and now the next week he goes out there and gets everybody we need. So other than defensive tackle, we could always add one, but with scholarships, I don't know how much room we got for that, but.
Yeah, I think you brought up scholarships. I think they're technically one over right now. They're at 86.
Okay.
And that is with them still recruiting a couple guys in the 2023 recruiting class, honestly, which the second signing day is in, what's today? I think 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks yesterday, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. They add another guy or two. You're up to 87, 88, and you have to get down to 85 by, I think, the end of your fall camp at the end of August. So, see what happens there. There's going to be a little more attrition to come. But, yeah, as you mentioned, everyone they brought in, pretty much a starter. Everyone they lost, I don't think any of those guys were even on the 2 deep at the end of the year. So, you always like when that is the addition subtraction ratio. That's always good to have. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Nate had a dip. He was grilling steak or something like that. But off season now, so we're going to try to get more guests on like we did over the summer last year. Going to get more drinks of the week with Tyler. And Janelle's going to go some basketball bets in the upcoming weeks. We're not going to have as much football to talk about, so we're going to try to make the show interesting with some other stuff in the upcoming weeks. So look forward for that. So, all right. Thanks for watching, everyone.